All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out my show. So, I did a podcast actually regarding people overreacting a lot of times when in a relationship. They blow things out of proportion. There's a lot of negativity. Instead of making the relationship stronger, they're kind of sabotaging it, destroying it. And you may know some of these people. You may be one of these people where, a lot of people have all these problems no matter what type of relationship they're in, at what time in their life, who they're with. Doesn't matter if they're living with somebody, if they're not, or they're just dating. They just always seem to have a problem with whoever they're dating or whoever they're with or whoever they're married to. Whatever the case may be, they overreact a lot of times. And in this podcast, what I want to do is kind of flip it. And instead of kind of overreacting in your relationships, and this also, I should say, it's not just with who you are or who you're with as far as husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. It's just relationships with friends as well, or colleagues, or family members, right? Is keep working on improving your relationships, because I don't think a lot of us think about that. I know I don't a lot of times when I probably should. And I have these times where I'm kind of all in because I have a massive family and I see a lot of my family members, but then me living in Florida, I don't. But we do have a family text that we all correspond with, which is really wonderful. And then being on Facebook and Instagram, I get to see a lot of my family. And my family members on both sides also have condos and homes in Florida, so I get to see them there as well if I'm not in Chicago. And I have a lot of, other family members throughout the United States. And, when I see my family members, though, I always want them to know I love them. And I want to improve on my relationships, even if I don't see them as often as I used to. And I kind of learned this from my girlfriend, too. I think she really is always trying to do the best she can with improving our relationships, where I kind of fall short in a lot of different areas. But I do I think, do a lot of other things that she loves that I don't bother with, or I don't overreact, and I don't, there's a lot of other things that maybe she dealt with in her previous marriage, maybe, or her previous relationships, where I don't bring all this baggage. I'm very comfortable talking about anything, and I can take the hit if I argue and I say, oh my goodness, I was wrong there. Me too. I could be even moody. I can sometimes, but same with her, I'll forgive very quickly. I'm not somebody who's obsessed with bringing up the past or yelling or screaming or any of these type of things anymore. I really want the best for her, her kids, her family, and she knows that. But when it comes to you, maybe, really, sometimes, and I talk about the interrogation a lot of times we're in relationships, and instead of helping one another, we're just interrogating one another. We're just looking to start an argument. We're looking to make somebody look stupid, or making them feel a certain way that's not very good. We arguing. Whatever the case may be, we're kind of looking for that problem. We're kind of searching for it. Why we do this, I have no idea. And I've been in those situations, I'm telling you, my past, where it just becomes a relationship of negativity. I think a lot of us have. But why does it have to be that way, and why are we behaving that way? Why would I do that? Because I think a lot of us, let's face it, if you want to be with somebody, right? If you live with somebody, you're married to somebody, and I get it, we get sick of one another after a certain amount of time to a certain degree. But if you're with this person, why wouldn't you want to improve on your relationship? Again, friends, family members, colleagues, the same thing as well. If you have a company, you want to most likely keep improving on it, right? If you're about your health and wellness, you want to improve on your health and wellness. And I don't think a lot of people look at their relationship and say, hey, I want to make this better every day. I want to kind of become creative to make things funner, maybe. I want to, maybe if I do have an issue with these certain things, the way I'm behaving or the way they're behaving, let's address them. Let's kind of get the elephant in the room out of here, or whatever that saying is. The elephant in the room, they're like, why even keep pretending that this isn't a problem when we know it's a problem? And there's a lot of fear in that, and I get it. Nothing is kind of worse, though, than being in a relationship where you're afraid to talk about the things that are aggravating you, or talk about things that you don't like. Now, again, there's a difference between having a nice conversation at the dinner table, or even before you go to bed, compared again to overreacting and texting somebody or calling them or screaming at them or fighting with them. And I get a lot of us are going to argue and fight through our relationships. I don't mean physically, but just argue in general. You're going to have good days and bad days. I talk about it all the time. Let's face it. But the truth is, there could be way more better days than bad. I remember one thing that when I moved to Florida a long time ago, this has nothing really to do with relationships, but I kind of look at life a little bit like this too, though. When living in Chicago, I used to count the days on how many bad days we had. And my God, we had so many bad days. Freezing, raining, ice, below zero. I used to be like, oh my God. And then I'd come to Florida and I'm like, all they have is good days. And then I heard some wacky stat of how many days really compared to Florida, compared to say the Midwest, and then Florida compared to the West Coast, and Florida compared to Canada, all these different things. But in my head, I used to say, you know what? Florida has 300 good days, in my opinion. 300 beautiful days. And 65 bad. That cold, rainy, whatever the case may be. Not many. A couple months, really. Or in Chicago, I said, my God, I only get a couple, 2-3 months. So I get 65 really good days there and 300 bad. But I kind of thought about that in a relationship throughout days. I want to have a lot of good days. I know I'm going to have bad, but I want a substantial amount of better days than worse. Same with I'm trying to start a company or whatever I'm trying to do, write a book or whatever. I want to be inspired for 300 days to keep going because I know I'm going to have bad days where things just aren't coming to me. They're not, flowing. I'm having, I get writer's block or I get, I'm trying to create something and it just dies. I have nothing inside of me. I'm uninspired. Nothing's working. I get it, but I try to really work through that and say, you know what? Let's keep focusing. Tomorrow's a new day and let's try to work through that and have the good compared to the bad. And believe me, I've had years, and I talk about this a lot, we have good years and bad years. Good decades, sometimes even bad decades. Let's face it, a lot of us go through a lot of different things throughout our life. Good days, bad days. But I try to really concentrate on the good a lot of times, way more than the bad. And maybe if you're somebody out there, if you're in a relationship or you're starting relationships, if you haven't been in one, you got to look at it. You went into a relationship or you want to be with this person because you love this person. You want to spend time with this person. You may even want to start a family with this person. And as time goes on, we evolve and change. And if things get really bad, it may be time to go your own ways. But also, it may be time to just address, maybe it's a different, it's time to make some changes that'll benefit one another. And a lot of times that's hard to just admit to. And a lot of times the problems may be you, and you don't want to admit it. A lot of people I talk about in relationships are always looking at somebody else as the problem and not themselves. But yeah, I just wanted to do a podcast on this because I think, just start having some really, or just have a different direction when being in a relationship. But again, instead of making it weaker, make it stronger. I'm just telling you, and I know as we get older, we're with one another for a certain amount of time. We get sick of hearing each other's voices. We get sick of being, doing the same shit with the same person. But here's the deal. You can have different conversations. You can do different things. You can live a different lifestyle. But one of you has to be the one that go in that direction. I'm just saying, life doesn't always have to be boring. But a lot of times you want to blame somebody else for the relationship being boring or being a certain way, but you're in it too. You're making it just as boring. Now, if you want to start making changes for the better and the other person doesn't, again, that person may not be for you. So just something to think about. Got any questions or comments, hit me up. I help a lot of people with, relationships or anti-aging or image consulting, and I'm at richcelenza.com. I have a Mastering Self-Confidence program where I try to help men find the woman or women of their dreams, even if they've been through a bad breakup or divorce. Because of that program, I've been getting hit up by a lot more women wanting, information regarding how to help them on the flip side of that, which has been quite interesting. I've been doing podcasts with different women and corresponding with a lot of different women regarding that, which has been quite interesting. So that's been a nice change. Again, evolving and changing and me looking at it from a different perspective, and that's even my relationships with my audience. I have to understand that maybe it's not just about men, it's about women. And very similar to what I said about relationships, you got to kind of keep an open mind. So, yeah. So if you got any questions or comments, hit me up, and I wish everyone nothing but the best.